Greetings, everybody, and welcome. I'm Alexa Chapivsky, Executive Director of the Women's Foreign Policy Group, and on behalf of our board and staff, and importantly, our friends and co-organizer, the Atlantic Council, led by its indefatigable CEO, Fred Kemp, and with special thanks also to the Eurasia Center, led by Ambassador John Herbst, welcome to AC Front Page, the Atlantic Council's premier live platform for world leaders tackling today's greatest challenges. As the saying in Ukraine goes, if you want something done, give it to a Ukrainian woman. In this context, we are honored to warmly welcome today a doer on the international stage. 2023 Wimbledon semifinalist, former world number 3, and United 24 ambassador, Elina Svitolina. She is a fighter on the tennis court, and she is a fighter for her country, using her platform, her hard-won success, to serve a cause greater than herself. Thank you for your diplomacy and for your activism. On behalf of Ukraine within the global sports community. Notably, Elina, you lead with grit and determination on the one hand, but on the other hand, you lead with grace, with elegance, with compassion, and with empathy. And most importantly, principle. Today's event will focus on sports diplomacy during war. It's equally a story about women's leadership. You said in an interview that in Ukraine, quote, it's very, very tough for people to go every single day through hell. Through your tennis, your charitable foundation, and your advocacy for your country, your successes across this range of pursuits, you are helping to keep the world's attention focused on Ukraine. Importantly, you are empowering an entire generation of especially young women and girls through your powerful example. As the great Billie Jean King said, you have to see it to be it. Thank you for your leadership and your service. We look forward to a lively discussion ahead. And in this connection, we are honored to have here today as our moderator, Margaret Brennan, CBS News' Chief Foreign Affairs correspondent and moderator of Face the Nation. For those in the audience watching virtually and for those here in the studio, please submit your questions on askac.org. Again, that's askac.org. We'll get to those later in the show. Margaret, thank you for being with us. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you all for watching and for being here today. And, I don't often get to sit across from someone who I'm a fan of. And I just have to say, it was so powerful watching you play at Wimbledon. And you captured, in so many ways, the public's attention, not just for how you played, but for who you are and all that you symbolize. And I remember hearing Chris Evert try to commentate, but she had to stop because she started crying, talking about you, talking about your resilience, coming back from just having had a baby 9 months ago, and all the hardship you have to go through just coming from Ukraine. So I just want to start there with how you are and who you are. You're from Odessa. How is your family there now?
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor for me to be here. It's been quite year and a half of my life, of course, welcoming our daughter, and then, slowly getting back into tennis. Also, the war that happened to all Ukrainians. So having my family there every single day, it's waking up, checking my phone, calling them, speaking with them, and trying to bring this light, this hope for all Ukrainians, and that's what I try to do on a constant basis. Also, it's a huge motivation for me to come back, not only for myself. Of course, I have my own goals, but also for Ukrainian people in these horrible times that we are facing now.
Mm-hmm. Your family safe?
My family is in Odessa right now. I have friends all over Ukraine, so it's really, really horrible times.
I wonder, as a new mom, raising a young Ukrainian woman, how do you think about that? What are you going to teach your children and your daughter about what it means to be Ukrainian?
I think it's the spirit. I want her to, I don't know if she's still gonna catch me playing my highest level, because she's only 9 months old now, and I don't know when I will stop, but hopefully, I can play a couple of more years so she can watch, she can see that I have this fighting spirit, and I had it from the young age. I always was fighting my heart out there, and especially right now, I think to be bold, to be fearless, and fight for what you believe in. I want her to have these values.
Mm-hmm. And you're speaking to her in Ukrainian? Are you teaching her?
Yes, for sure, for sure. My parents are spending some time with her. Sometimes my husband's mom and his family spending time with her as well, teaching French, and we are teaching Ukrainian.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is just such an important thing to acknowledge, that you have gone through physically an incredibly taxing year. You took off time to have a family, but then you got back and played at the highest levels of professional sports. I know, certainly for me, returning from having 2 kids, any woman who goes through that is awed by your ability to get back and play at such a high level so quickly. And I wonder if there is a lesson in there for you to share with other female athletes about making that choice, because sometimes it feels like it's either or.
Yes, it's not easy. The journey is really tough. But I think with the right motivation, with the right mindset, it is possible. And I think, the message is that women are so strong. We don't even know how strong we are. And just important to break down the process in small pieces, and then, take one day at a time. Give yourself time to recover, and then, just start from scratch. And I know it can be difficult, but I think we all have this power in us that we need to discover.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's inspirational, I'll say that. On the sports diplomacy front, it can be difficult when people project onto you so much responsibility for what you represent for them. When you go onto the court and you're aware of that you were representing to the world Ukraine, how does that affect you and your ability to play? That's hard.
For sure, but it's also a huge honor for me to have this power, to have voice that I can use in different levels, and especially right now during the war, it's really extremely important. Like before the war, I was talking the beauty of Ukraine, about Ukrainian food that I love that much, and right now it's only about these horrible things that are happening to our people, to the kids, and to our cities that are getting wiped off. So, people have to understand that the war is ongoing. We have to remind people that, and that we need help on daily basis. So I try to use my voice in my own way. I'm a tennis player, so I'm in the sports. So I have to do everything possible, and I feel this is my responsibility, and I try to do everything possible in this stage.
On Wednesday, Ukraine ended its ban on athletes competing against Russian and Belarusians in international competitions as long as they compete under neutral banners. If they compete under the flags of their countries, Ukrainians are told to withdraw. You supported the initial ban. I wonder what you think now about this reversal.
I think this was the right decision from Ukrainian committee, and we can take this case of Olga Harland. It was just actually happened 1 hour ago, where she was competing at the World Championships, and she beat Russian fencer and then refused to shake hands, which is the right thing to do for our people. And then the Russian athlete, she provoked, and then Olga was disqualified from the tournament, which is, I think, really disrespectful from the fencing federation. Also, why they provoke this, and why they don't respect our position. Us as Ukrainians, we have this strong position that we unite together for one goal, for the win, to get back our territories that have been taken away from us, and all these horrible things that are happening to Ukrainian kids, to Ukrainian people, and our soldiers who are defending our country are dying every single day. So we unite for this position, and we are asking for the respect of that. And it's really terrible what is happening in the sports world, and that we don't get the respect of our decision.
So you think that some of the sports associations should adopt a policy that deals with just handshakes and protocol?
Yeah, I think this is the only right decision, and we stand by this position, so we're asking for the respect.
And do you think there is any chance that this protocol gets changed so that you won't be required? In this case of this fencer, she had her win taken away from her because of the refusal to shake hands.
Well, tennis federations, they released a statement that they respect our decision, and there will be no handshake between Ukrainians and Russian-Belarusian players. So I think this is the right move forward. So I think the other sports federation, they should do the same. They should respect our decision of our country as well.
Even if those players are not playing under the flag of their country?
Yes.
You want the ability to say no. Because when you played at the French Open, I understand you did not shake the hand of a Belarusian player, and you were booed by the fans.
Yes, in that case, I think people didn't really get involved in the situation. They didn't really understand, because I played 2 matches before also with the Russian players who respected my decision to not shake hand, and everything went fine. And then the match in the quarterfinal, because I lost that match, I don't know. They thought it was the lack of sportsmanship, that I didn't want to shake hands because I lost. So I don't know if it's this was really. This is the bad example, I think. I don't know if people understood it right. That's why it was important for me that the Tennis Federation, that they released the statement that there will be no handshakes between Ukrainians and Russian-Belarusian players.
Is that player, Sabalenka, had said she didn't support the war and she didn't support Lukashenko, her country's leader. Does that mean anything to you? I mean, can you see these players as separate from politics, or is this just so interwoven now that you can't separate it?
Well, we asked the tennis players to speak about it, to be vocal for that, and only after 1.5 years, when she said that in press conference, it was not straight after the invasion, when we expected that. And only after she beat me, in the end, she said that she mentioned that. So, and we had all the situations before the war is already 1.5 years, and we expected that a bit earlier, and with all the mixture of different hate and love comments that we get, it's really difficult for us, because our country is under war, our country is suffering a lot, and also we get also different situations that are not important, you know. We are doing everything possible for our people, you know. We are just trying to be unite and, you know, do everything that we can.
You know, sports, like arts, can be, as people say, a unifier. And people like to think of it sometimes as an escape, you know, a politics-free zone. That's gone, right? I mean, it's impossible for you to step into a tournament, onto a court, and look at a Russian player and not be aware of that.
Yeah, you cannot act normal because you know that they are from Russia, you know that they are from Belarus still, and because their government are using the athletes fully, and in the media, you know, all the propaganda that they have, and they really use the athletes. They are really proud of them, and we have many examples, you know, where they're in the military, where they have positions in the military, and then, you know, the soldiers of Russia are killing our people, you know, the kids, and, you know, stealing kids as well, and kidnapping. So you cannot act normal, and you cannot say, especially in these countries, Russian, Belarusian, they really use them as a weapon on the media.
And so when you say you don't want to shake hands, that's what you are thinking of.
Yeah.
Is that what you want? What do you want people at home to see that when they say it's just a handshake?
I want to see the position of all Ukrainians that, you know, we are here to win this war on different levels, and it starts also from the media and finishes, you know, with our men and women who are fighting on the front line. We are doing everything possible. The end, you know, goal for us, we're doing everything possible to give them, you know, this power of support for the women who are fighting on the front line, for them to have a good spirit to continue fighting and to return all the territories that we unfortunately lost.
Do you think there should be a boycott of the Paris Olympics, or should Ukraine participate fully?
Our Ministry of Sport is doing everything possible, and hopefully they can make the right decision. I just want that, you know, our athletes don't suffer. And as I mentioned, the situation with Olga Harland and fencing, it's horrible to see that the federations, international federations of other sport, they don't respect our position. So hopefully there will be the right decision.
I know you've also been using your work as an advocate for Ukraine's youth. And I want to play, if we could, a video from your foundation.
Я спустилася, і тут також почалась війна. А я питаю, чи ми йдемо до школи, чи ні. Я ще не второпала.
Бывало то, что как только я выходила там погулять во двор, то сразу начинают бомбежки и обратно возвращаться в подвал.
Ну, короче, когда слышала взрывы, мне было страшно. Вот. Видел ракеты и самолеты. Ну, взрывы тоже видел.
І ще там десь в Ірпені чи будь-що розбомбили корти. Це теж дуже, я там грав, ти любив.
Ну, да, там один был взрыв, прям 200 метров от нас. Мне было очень страшно, в это время я стоял и после взрыва чуть не упал аж.
Були вибухи біля мого дому. Ми йшли на тренировку, звучит сирена, там рядом школа, там есть подвал. Ну, мы пошли к ней, тут слышим такой гул, как оборачиваемся, это летит крылатая.
Подруга з тенісу показувала, як в неї будинок виглядає в Ірпіні. Ну, там ще будинку нема, а величезна яма.
А наши друзья попали под обстрел 27 числа. Они еле выжили. Их собаку убили, машину расстреляли, и они убежали куда-то в лес.
Мы узнали то, что наш дом уже разбили. Все.
розумію, наскільки важко цим людям, які просто там були. І ми зразу дивились новини, і я зразу то все відчула, ніби так є в реальності. І в мене був той страх, що таке ж саме може статися в моїй домівці, і це було все дуже страшно.
Слышал, рядом было там за километра 2-3, за километр. Очень громко было, очень страшно. Ну, я уже прожил тот момент и сейчас живу в безопасном месте.
Я думаю, это все так говорят. Ну, по крайней мере, я хочу быть первой ракеткой мира.
Я хочу виграти всі шоломи, які є.
Я мечтаю стати першою ракеткою світу.
Я хочу стать легендой, потому что первые ракетки мира могут уходить, приходить.
Стать первой ракеткой ВТА.
Стать лучшей, выигрывать большие шлема.
Виграти великий шолом.
Попасти на Вімблдон і виграти.
Хочу виграти золоту олімпійську медаль для України.
Спочатку всі казали, що ми й 3 днів не витримаємо. Ми витримали 3 дні, ми витримали місяць, ми тримаємося вже півроку.
И сейчас мы непобедимы, действительно, поэтому это гордость для меня быть українцем.
Слава Україні і героям слава!
Тому що українці не переможуть.
Діти, вони дуже сильні. Вони вчать нас не падати духом та вибудовувати для них краще майбутнє. Навіть краще, ніж мали ми. А здавалося, це ми маємо бути їх вчителями. Але ні, навпаки.
So tell me about what you're doing for these young players. I understand you're helping to put together a tennis tournament in Kyiv this month.
Yeah, we had different projects. Sorry, it was really touching.
It's hard to watch children. It's very, very hard to watch children, I know, particularly as a mom.
Before the invasion, we did different kind of projects for the kids. But then, when the war started, we tried to react really quick and try to relocate those kids and their families to Europe, around the world, where we could and where it was possible. And now we have also the mental health problem that all Ukrainians are experiencing, and especially knowing that in sports it takes a lot to become a champion. For me, it was really important to have that program, the mental health program, in my foundation. Mm-hmm. And now we are having over 100 kids in this project, and it's going really strong. And we were really surprised how many kids are actually asked for help and came to this program. Also, the tournaments, as you mentioned, we are starting the tournaments in Kiev and some other cities in Ukraine that are gonna happen throughout next months. And this is really exciting for me because I know how much kids love to compete, how much they love to play, and I'm really happy we had a chance with the team to put together these events and, of course, the tournaments.
Mm-hmm. Will you be attending?
I will be probably after the season is done. I think in October, November, I will be going to this tournament there probably in Kiev, or we will see where, but I'm really looking forward to go back and to see all of them.
And tell me though, why you think, what you think this does for the children. I understand when I was reading in on this that you had to look for tennis courts that had bomb shelters nearby.
For sure, it's really important, and I know that they want to play, they want to compete, and for us, of course, the safety is the priority first. We have to organize everything for them in a safe way. So that's why we try to find the clubs that are still possible to host the tournaments, and also where they will be safe and enjoy their time at the fullest as much as it's possible now these days.
Your First Lady has talked quite a lot about the need to provide mental health support for young people, for parents. And it's something that gets very overshadowed by just the day-to-day on the battlefield. What is it that makes it, why is it so important to you? Why have you identified this as a need right now?
I think kids now these days, they've seen so much for the past 1.5 years, and they need to talk to someone, because I think their parents also suffered a lot, and for them to see their parents being really sad, or suffer the loss of their parent, or the loss of their home, and all the time being alert, it's terrible, and it's really damaging mentally. So that's why for me it was important, to give them this chance to ask for help and not be scared for asking for help. And tennis and sports are generally a lot of pressure, a lot of tough moments on the court. So of course you need someone who will be there helping you on the mental level as well.
And are you able to find those resources now? What do you need to do this and to continue to grow the foundation?
We are trying to organize different kind of events and try to involve different people to help us to make this happen. And so far, they've been, with my comeback into tennis, it was like a big motivation for me to come back to share these moments on the court in a fun way, but also raise money for people who are in need, for my foundation, for United 24 as well. So there's always someone in need, and we are trying to act every single day.
I know we have questions from the audience, and I want to go to those now. But before I do, tell me about next week. You're playing here.
Yes, it's going to be my first time playing at the DC City Open. Looking forward to step on the court here. I always wanted to come to play in Washington. So yeah, looking forward to that. Is going to be another big challenge for me.
So some of these messages from the audience I'm going to read to you. Anastasia from Kyiv says, Elina, thank you for all the hope, strength, and inspiration you're sharing with Ukrainians. How do you stay so resilient to stress and pressure as a sportsman representing the country?
For me, I just have a clear goal. I want to win every single time I step on the court, and I want to bring this winning feeling for Ukrainian people as well. And this is a huge motivation on a daily basis for me. Try to practice and do all this routine with this motivation. It's really difficult times for Ukrainian people right now, and I try to draw the motivation out of it, that I'm in a safe place. I have this opportunity to play in front of so many people, so I cannot complain. I have to go full on and try to bring this winning feeling for my people.
Do you have any concerns about the role of authoritarian governments in funding major sports organizations? You spoke a bit about this, but this question drives at the idea that this may not have happened in tennis, but it's happening in golf, and it has been a problem in soccer. Is tennis at risk for this?
I don't know exactly about golf. I think this is. I don't know if there is. If this is in tennis as well. I think I cannot answer this question at this stage.
Should there be exceptions made for Russian and Belarusian athletes who advocate against the war? This is a question from Steve. As there are many athletes who are forced into exile who are unable to compete right now.
This was our initial statement when the war started. We talked with WTA, with ATP, with ITF, tennis organizations about this case, and we asked them, if they come out with a clear statement, if they are vocal about their statement that they're against their government, against the action that their government is doing, then they would be allowed to play. But we got nothing, and now it's too late. It's been over 1.5 years, and nothing happened really.
How can athletes and others in the sports world best support you in Ukraine? It's from an anonymous person.
I think being vocal is really the least you can do, because...
What do you mean by that, being vocal?
Try to raise the awareness that the war is still ongoing. Ask for help, because our kids, our women, our people need help in different levels, even in the daily basis. So any help works for Ukrainian people. So if you can donate, any donation, even a few dollars every day will help. So this what's for me is important, that other people also understand that talking about it and donating any amount of money will help Ukrainian.
Do you think other professional tennis players are afraid of speaking out in favor of Ukraine clearly?
Yes, I think a lot of them are scared. They are not ready to take this responsibility, and they just want to stay away a little bit from that. Me personally, as a Ukrainian, I cannot be silent. I want to scream everywhere where I can and use my voice at the fullest.
Have you spoken to other professional athletes about this? Have you said, would you please say something clearly in support of Ukraine?
Yeah, I had multiple conversations with them. They really support us, but it's only private conversations and private talks. So they are not ready, as I mentioned, not ready to take the responsibility, and really want to stay away from that. And also maybe they don't have enough information, maybe from their government, they don't get enough information from that, so they want to be involved.
Do you face any misunderstandings about the war in Ukraine or Russian propaganda? How do you handle that?
Yes, there is a lot of it, and mostly it's in social media. And this is very sad because we see a lot of propaganda from Russian side, and we see that a lot of it is not true, because they even obvious things that they say, that there was no attack in Odessa, when I had just a call with my grandmother, and she said that her building was shaking from the missiles that arrived 1 kilometer from her house. So no, this is horrible what is their media is doing.
So how do you deal with that? Do you respond? Do you ignore it?
Me, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
I already stopped trying to convince them. I just do everything possible, what I can in my part. Try to just do every single day, do something that bring us closer to the victory.
How is the Ukrainian government's Ministry of Sport and Children working on some of the sport issues that you discussed?
They are working on a daily basis on different kind of issues. For sure, there is a lot on their plate. I wish, they could approach a bit differently, few things, few different sports, and to not face the problems that we are facing. Maybe a bit more support in different sports, but I guess they are doing everything possible on what they can. So trying to work our way into this.
You want more support for tennis?
Well, for tennis and for different sports as well. I just feel like we could do a bit better at the beginning of the war, and but it's tough to judge from my part, because I was playing the tournaments with my pregnancy at that time, at the beginning of the war as well. So it was lots of things happening, and we as tennis players were trying to do everything by ourselves at that time. So yeah, it is how it is right now.
What do you want fans to do when they go to matches? You want them bringing Ukrainian flags to the stadium? I mean, what is it that you want fans to do? If some of the players are too afraid, what should the fans understand?
As I mentioned about the donations, any donation, a couple of dollars would help, and goes towards kids, animals as well. You can see in different levels, just what speaks to you. There is different kind of directions that you can go to. For sure the flags, for sure the support. I got enormous amount of support in France, in England, and it's really unbelievable. It really motivates me to do better, to do more, and I couldn't be more thankful for this support. So please continue.
Well, in this country, someone named Siobhan is asking about what you think in regard to Americans who may believe our country is doing too much for Ukraine or should be less involved in supporting Ukraine's war effort. What do you say to those Americans?
I think they cannot be too much. Me as Ukrainian, I always want more and more, and I think on the government level, I think they know when is too much, where is not enough. So for me, on my platform and in sports, for sure, there is not enough support. I wish the tennis federations could be more involved, do more, and the sports in general. I think they could do more and support us more.
Your daughter will grow up through this war and its after effects. What kind of country do you hope she is able to enjoy? Have you taken her to Ukraine?
No, not yet, but this is my dream. I really want to take her there to save Ukraine and to show her where I grew up, to meet my grandmother, and I just want to show her how beautiful our country is. So hopefully I can show her, and it's really a dream of mine to show her how beautiful Ukraine is.
You said you had spoken to your grandmother who is in Odessa. What is the reality of life right now? Because there is a lot of Russian firepower aimed at it.
Yeah, for the past months have been the worst time for Odessa. It's really terrible what they are going through right now, and Ukraine been going through this over a year and a half right now. So it's hopefully we can be united. We can just do everything possible and every single day. This is what is really important. I'm just asking any help, any possible support will really bring hope and bring us closer to the victory.
One other question from a viewer here. You faced backlash after the handshake. I think they mean at the French Open.
Yeah.
Would you do it again?
I stand by my position, and I played already against a Belarusian player at Wimbledon as well, and I stay by my position. I stay by position of my country, and I think this is the right decision, and I will continue doing that because I believe this is the right thing.
Lastly, I think it's incredible that you can talk about all of this and then psychologically prepare yourself for everything you have to do under pressure and performance. How do you do that? How do you clear your mind?
As I mentioned, I draw motivation from Ukrainian people, from...
You don't block it out.
No, I try to take it on, and try to navigate as well. I played tennis for so many years, so I know how to hit the ball, how to move on the court. But the motivation, that's where you can struggle a bit. So I try to direct it as a motivation to fight, the fighting spirit, the strength that Ukrainians have. I really try to take it on and live with that, and just really the fighting spirit that we have and unbreakable spirit that we show. This is a huge motivation for me.
It's an inspiration. Elina, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to ask, here he is, Fred Kemp, to the stage.
Thank you, Margaret. It's always a pleasure to have you here, Margaret, but today in particular. And Elina, that was just such a moving conversation. You talked about your fighting spirit, the fighting spirit of Ukrainians, bold, fearless, and fighting for what you believe in. The question of whether we're doing enough, I'll help you with that one. We're not doing enough because you're not just fighting for Ukraine, you're fighting for freedoms everywhere, and so thank you for that. On behalf of the Atlantic Council and our partners at the Women's Foreign Policy Group, we would like to extend our deep gratitude for you joining us here today at the Atlantic Council studios. Atlantic Council Front Page is our premier platform for global leaders. We've had heads of state here, ministers of government, but you represent the best of global leadership, and we know global leadership comes into all flavors. The two gentlemen we work with very closely down at the front desk here at the Atlantic Council headquarters have never asked for an autograph of any other person participating in Atlantic Council Front Page, and Elina has already signed autographs for both of them. Your talent, tenacity, and generosity are inspiring. You combine world-class athletic performance with high-impact advocacy on and off the court. I was at the Vilnius Summit in NATO when I watched you play Iga Swiatek, and you won in 3 sets, but Ukraine won because not only were you fighting for Ukraine, but she was wearing the Ukrainian colors in her hat. And it was really a moving moment. You set the standard for effective, oh, by the way, you did defeat the world #1 as well. But both were campaigners for Ukraine. You set the standard for effective sports diplomacy, and you remind us what Ukraine is fighting for: the freedom to play and compete, the freedom to express oneself, the freedom to pursue one's passions. That film of the children tennis players was incredibly moving. I'm proud to say that the Atlantic Council and our Eurasia Center, led by John Herbst, Shelby Magid, has been a leader in shaping discussions on American policy in Ukraine since 2014, and continues to engage the transatlantic community to more effectively counter Russia's full-scale war and help secure Ukraine's victory. I've recently returned from Kiev, where an Atlantic Council delegation personally presented President Zelensky with the Atlantic Council's highest honor, the Atlantic Council Global Citizen Award. We'll acknowledge that again on September 20th in New York as the world gathers for the UN General Assembly. That should be several days after your victory at the US Open. But so close up in Kiev with daily air raid alerts and Russia's criminal attacks on civilians, we experienced firsthand the bravery and commitment that you speak of and you represent. And speaking of committed individuals, I want to extend our gratitude to Alexa Chopivsky and the Women's Foreign Policy Group, without whom this fantastic event would not have been possible. And Alexa is one of my favorite freedom fighters, so thank you, Alexa. Thank you as well to our guests who have joined us in person and online for this edition of Atlantic Council Front Page, hosted by the Eurasia Center. Lastly, to Elina, good luck at the Mubadala City Open here in D.C. and at the U.S. Open later this summer. We're going to be rooting for you and your country. I'm going to be there in the stands. Elina, listen for the shouts of Slava Ukraini. And also, in closing, I want to thank our audience here in Washington. I'd like to thank our global virtual audience. We have listeners from all over the world, a very large audience this morning, this afternoon in Europe and all around the world. Most of all, thank you to those, and we know there are many of you listening from Ukraine. We're with you. Thank you.